Financial intelligence is an essential body of knowledge for you to have when you want to position yourself for financial greatness. Today, we will do a high level overview of essential money habits that you want to know. Now, some of the questions that I have been asked, because in the world today, we have so many financial gurus. We have Dave Ramsey that will talk to you about the importance of avoiding debt. And the question that I have been asked is he right or is he wrong? Stay with us. We will examine all of that. And your position to financial greatness will ultimately depend on the kind of knowledge that you have about financial instruments in the financial market. And it would also depend on where you're taking your information from. You can take your information from Dave Ramsey. Is he right or wrong? Stay with us. Or you can take your information from persons like Ray Dalio. And Ray Dalio is the brain behind Bridgewater. Bridgewater has a history of being in operation since 1975. So there's a rich history there. You also have other great minds like Kevin O'Neill, who runs the Kevin O'Neill Investment Group. And these are all advisors and investors in the financial world. Stay with us. We will talk a little bit about this. But to join me in today's conversation, I have two dynamic personalities to support in the conversation. So do join me in welcoming my two colleagues as we do a deep dive into habits and money, mastering millionaire mindsets. The first person I want to introduce is Clement Frank. In the event that you're wondering who is Clement Frank, well, he is an economist by profession. He is also a practicing leader and an author. He's soon to release his first book. And I want to welcome Frank. How are you? Welcome.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Good to see you, Elmer.
Good morning. And second, I want to introduce Elmore Lopez. And you may be wondering who exactly is Elmore Lopez. And Elmore, he is a cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specialist. He spent quite a number of years studying the market, and he has built a business that really helps persons to understand how to navigate the cryptocurrency and the Bitcoin world. Along with that, Elmore is also an author. He is also soon to release his new book that will really help you to understand cryptocurrency. So, welcome, Elmore. How are you?
You. Thank you. And welcome, everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. What I want to do, I want us to break the ice right away. We are talking about habits and money. We are talking about master millionaire mindsets. I want to begin by looking a little bit at Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey is one of the popular guys that really helps his audience to understand a financial intelligent way to position themselves to build wealth. And one of his advice is to stay away from debt. And many persons would ask me, is that good advice or bad advice? And I would say it depends on which side of the fence you're on. Now, let me explain. In the context that you're attempting to take debt, but then you don't understand anything about financial instrument, Dave Ramsey is perfectly correct. Because in buying debt or leveraging credit, if you don't understand exactly what you're getting into, you're going to be throwing that noose around your neck. All right. There's a lot that you need to understand about financial instruments if you want to play the financial leveraging game. There are millions of people who attempt to take debt. There are millions of people that attempt to leverage capital, but because they have the wrong money habit, it became a liability and they are struggling with this. And the evidence is out there. Today, we have over 50 million Americans who are in debt, all right? And they are struggling to manage the debt portfolio largely because they do not understand how debt portfolio operates. Now, it's important now on the flip side of this, when you understand capital markets and how to leverage capital markets, that's a different ball game altogether. So let me give another scenario, and this scenario will now show uh, persons who are taking debt and leveraging debt to their advantage. So I want to emphasize this. If you don't know about financial instruments, Dave Ramsey is right. Stay away from that. And the majority of the people in the world, you don't understand financial instruments. So you should definitely stay away from it. But here, the flip side of the coin, we have big companies like Walmart who have been dabbling expertly with financial instruments. For example, in the financial world, there is a financial instruments that we call trade lines. Now, big companies like Walmart, they do not have just one trade line or five trade line or 10 trade line. They have access to over 500 trade lines. So let me explain exactly what is trade line. Trade line is a line of credit. So in Walmart case, they have businesses set up all over the United States of America. So those businesses are able to get a line of credit, largely based on the fact that they have over 500 trade lines. It means that they're getting access to millions of US dollars in line of credit. So because they're getting access to millions of US dollars in line of credit, guess what? They're able to stock their storefronts out with zero money down because of that trade line. And that is leveraging uh, debt or, to your advantage. All right. That works against what Dave Ramsey is saying. But it works against what Dave Ramsey is saying because they know exactly how to manage money. So what they do, they take this debt. The debt can be for 30 days. The debt can be for 90 days. And because they have a 30, between a 36 and a 90-day window to offset the trade line, they are now able to stock out their storefront, sell out those goods multiple times, then repay that debt. All right. But Walmart's strategy is that they know that they're not taking a debt as a liability. They're taking a debt and they're up leveling that debt into an asset. And this is where we talk about if you're going to be in taking capital to invest in anything, it should never be an emotional decision. It should never be front end analytics decision where you are looking at the media, you're listening to someone, and you're flowing from the hype of what is being said. You're making back end decision. Walmart clearly knows that when they take that debt and stock their store out, they're going to have hundreds and perhaps thousands of consumers coming to buy the product because they're into FMCG, they're into fast moving consumer goods item. So they know every day, multiple persons are going to be coming through the store to purchase the product. So because they have that to their advantage, they are best or they're in that strategic position to leverage that. Now, if you're not in a similar position, it is advised to do exactly what Dave Ramsey would have said. So I trust that you have some clarity here so far in terms of essential money habits that you want to start thinking about. All right. It's not, for me, it's not who's right and who's wrong, but who's right based on these realities and who might be wrong based on another set of realities. Regardless of what you owe to yourself, when you want to play the money game, when you want to position yourself to build wealth, you need to take the time to understand capital market, or at least ensure that you have a solid uh, person next to you that understand capital markets and can really help you to navigate the platform. Now, when I come back, I will talk to you about four pillars of the capital markets that you need to understand. And I will also point you to a beautiful program that we have that is all designed to help you to understand that. And just let me give you a hint. We are now rolling out Pathway 5. And what is Pathway 5? Pathway 5 is going to really help you to understand the science, the theory, and the practice of wealth creation. So Pathway 5 is designed to take the guesswork out of wealth creation because we know many persons today you are attempting to put yourself in a financially healthy position, and you have been trying multiple different things without the results. Well, Pathway 5, large because of the data that we have, it will help you to take the guesswork out of your attempts to position yourself to attain financial independence. And that's the program that we are now introducing to the general public. Pathway 5 comes with the kind compliments of the Science of Success University and Global Capital Inc. You will learn more about those platforms. Now, what I want to do, I want to now invite Frank to add to the conversation. Today, we are looking at habits and money, and we are talking about master millionaire mindset. At the end of the day, we want you to start thinking and not only thinking, but put you in a position of strength to take informed action that can position you to attain your financial targets. Frank, all to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Great being here. Great to share. I want to look at abundance. Abundance, we talk about habits of millionaires that you can adopt today. When people hear millionaire, and there's another kind of millionaire that comes overnight. There are certain habits that you need to adopt together because everyone dreams of financial freedom. Everyone dreams of luxuries, abundance of luxuries that come with it. But there's only a few who understand the discipline, the hard work, and most importantly, the habits that will lead to such success. Becoming a millionaire seems like a distant dream sometimes for many. But what have I told you that it's not just about making smart investments or striking it rich overnight? It's about adopting a set of habits that pave the way for wealth accumulation over time. And so we want to delve into practical day to day habits of millionaires that are within your reach. You don't need a six-figure salary to start. You just need a discipline to begin adopting these habits today. Now, mastering the mindset is one of the things that you need to put in place. That mindset that you have for millionaire, and in the mindset, as you begin to think it out, then you can manifest it. And the journey to amassing wealth begins, as I say, in the minds. Millionaires understand the power of a growth mindset. It's a concept that is not just confined to personal developmental books, but is a practice that you do daily in your life. The millionaires believe in continuous learning and self improvement. And this continuous learning and self improvement fuels the journey towards success. It doesn't mean that they don't face setbacks. It doesn't mean that there are no stumbling blocks or hardships that they will face. Instead, they view challenges as opportunities to grow and learn. And every failure is dissected for lessons, not for reasons to give up. So, embracing a growth mindset, stepping out of your comfort zone, and being open to new experiences and learning. So, you spend a considerable amount of time reading, attending workshops, networking with people who inspire you. And this habit of being a lifelong learner is something you can start today. It doesn't require hefty investment in expensive courses. If you simply dedicate a few hours each week to reading books, listening to podcasts, or even engaging in meaningful conversation, it can set you on the right path. Moreover, the mindset extends to financial intelligence. Understanding money and how money works and how to make it work for you, is a cornerstone of millionaire habits. Again, this doesn't mean becoming a financial expert overnight, but gradually improving your financial literacy through consistent learning. So you start by budgeting, start by learning about investments, and then understanding the basics of financial planning. And these steps will not only improve your financial intelligence, but also reduce anxiety related to money matters, which makes you confident in your financial decisions. The other aspect is very hard sometimes, but living below your means. It's one of the most common misconceptions about millionaires is that they spend extravagantly. On the contrary, many millionaires are meticulous about living below their means, and this habit is not about self-deprivation, but about prioritizing financial security over temporary pleasures. And it's about making conscious choices that will align with long-term goals rather than succumbing to momentary desires. So live below your means starts with budgeting, tracking your spending. And this might sound mundane or restricted, but it's about gaining control over your finances rather than letting your desires control you. Millionaires use budgeting as a tool to ensure that their spending aligns with their values, aligns with their goals, and they understand the difference between what are the wants, what are the needs, and as such, they make spend decisions accordingly. Over to you, Gary.
All right, thanks for that share, Frank. And I do believe that you've made some very, very valid points. I do believe that many persons that have the big dream, and you're entitled to the big dream of, reaching the point of financial independence, you're entitled to that. But sometimes to get there, you have to make sacrifices. As time progresses, I will talk about a lot of sacrifices even I had to make to, position myself to own, real estate as income producing asset. I'll talk a lot about that as time progresses. What Frank is saying is very, very important. What I also want to add to that is that as you make smart decision over a long period of time, and you're truly able to set yourself up for success, and as you go deeper into understanding what is financial literacy, what is financial intelligence, guess what? That time will come that you can step away gradually from being frugal, and you can now make a decision that you want to splurge at sometimes, and you don't have to worry about your asset being depleted because you have a splurge fund, you have a special portfolio that is dedicated to that and it's not coming from your primary source of income. As time progresses, we'll talk a whole lot about that, so you understand the smart way of doing things. Before you learn the smart way, you need to do exactly what Frank would have said. You need to do things on a budget, and you need to be smarter in how you're spending money. I will now come to Elmore. Uh, Elmore, I know you do a lot in the cryptocurrency space. What are some of the practical steps that persons can take in the event that they want to use cryptocurrency, want to use Bitcoins as a means of generating additional income? And as you discuss, I would love to also know, about some of the pitfalls and how to avoid it, because I know today the world all over, they have so much of fear when it comes to investing in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. The world has seen what Sam Bankman-Fried has done, and that gives them even more motivation to stay away from it. But as I would say on this platform, you don't want to be influenced and driven by fear. You want to be influenced and directed by data, because data is what's going to help you to make better, smarter business and life decision. So Elmore, give us some data for us to work with.
Sure. So first, I like to say that when it comes to to creating millionaire habits, a lot of individuals that I have met in the cryptocurrency space that are millionaires, they became millionaires because they got into a space early, which is great, but they still do not have the proper discipline as to being a millionaire's discipline. And so there is a lot else that goes on, right, that we have to understand, because I think the best thing that even in the crypto space, when I see it, and I see it also in the traditional marketplace, is that individuals are not able to separate their cost of living with their lifestyle of living. It's two different accounts. And in this space, when you're going to come in and you're looking to look for a place to be able to store your value, and to be able to make your money grow. Well, there is a very there is a risky way to do this, and there is a safe way to do this. And so what I mean by this is that once you start to do your diligence and you start to run into the communities, because there's so many different communities in this space, that you're going to be inside information that is going to allow you to not just make a wise decision, but to be able to make a convicted decision, because now you are understanding what the future is going to look like. And so, to be able to have that conviction, you need to have the data. And so, in the data, it's where you have to really dig in deep. And I have been available to do this because of the amount of years that I have spent in this space. But what I have been following very diligently is the way that the cryptocurrency world it's coming to the mainstream. And so individuals, yes, because of all of the negative narratives and the bad actors, that happen in every industry. At the beginning, there's always bad actors that give it a bad taste, a bad name, and certainly many individuals turn the back away from it. But for the ones that are still curious, they would start to trying to look and find out the reason why this is going to work for the future. And so now we have so much data available to us that it comes from the traditional systems of financial that are essentially displaying inside of all of their whole new digitized system that they're creating. They're displaying bits and pieces of what are the winners in the space that are providing a protocol, or they're providing a solution to the ecosystem. Now, when you get into that arena, you're essentially you're bypassing the very basic long trading strategy or a short trading strategy. It's completely changes the way that you view the space, because now you are not viewing the space as a means to be able to create some extra money by making a trade, but now you're able to take a long position because you are understanding how this whole entire ecosystem it's going to change the financial world as we know it today. And so one, I would just to mention what we were talking about this week. We were talking about the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, and I was talking about the International Monetary Fund. Now, if we understand what both of these institutions are, we understand that these institutions are above every central banking system in every country. And these individuals from the top down are all adopting the digital currency system. Now, there's a huge difference here that we need to be able to dissect, which is that they are still remaining within a centralized ecosystem, to where a place that is like Bitcoin, it remains in a decentralized ecosystem. Now, why is Bitcoin becoming the number one cryptocurrency around the world, and that now that it has been approved by ETFs, everyone is making so much demand on it that once the mainstream gets to it, there will be a very little to be able to capture. I right now I'm having a hard time trying to capture because the exchanges are not able to keep up with the demand, and the the supply that it's available is not enough to fulfill every order. And so understanding these things, this is data that's happening in front of your face. It starts to give you a perspective as to how this whole entire ecosystem is changing the world. Because when we look at data and we look at numbers, we are seeing that this is starting to touch the mainstream, but already just by the beginning stages of this, with just having a safe vehicle as a exchange traded fund, the demand on this space has gone on 10 times with what's available. And now, when we start to understand it a little bit deeper, and we understand that the supply has been cut in half since this Bitcoin halving, well, that means that the supply before was 10x. Now that the supply kind of doubles in demand because it's half of it being able to be created on a daily basis. And this is something that we start to understand, that these big institutions now have adopted the space, and they are trying to grasp as many as what is possible out there. And so now, when you understand that these corporations and these institutions that are the financial stable for everyone, right? Because everyone believes in these institutions because they have a track record of being able to get into spaces and to be able to have done the due diligence to understand that the space that they are endeavoring in is going to be a prosperous space. Otherwise, these institutions wouldn't work. And so now, with this happening and having this whole entire world ecosystem, because this is one thing that we have to look at when we look at the data as to what makes Bitcoin so robust. Because when we look at anything of value, we are wanting to see that it's either being backed by a commodity, or there has to be a value within the ecosystem. And when we look at a lot of individuals that like to be objective into the space, they say, well, there is nothing that's backing this up. And I would automatically show them what's backing this up. And there is about $20 billion worth of computer power around the world that create this whole entire ecosystem. Now, I don't think that $20 billion worth of computer power anyone would just spend on something that it's not going to last, that it's not going to be reliable, that it's not going to be able to be a store of value for the future. Because this is the one other aspect of this data, is that as we are able to compare Bitcoin to every other crypto, or to every other fiat currency around the world, which is there's 166 different fiat systems in the world. When you compare them from the incision moment, which means from 2008, you compare Bitcoin to every other currency around the world, and it will open your eyes. Now, this is data that people don't look for. People don't even have an awareness that is there, because they are paying attention too much of what he said, the other one said, and what the negative part aspect of it is that scare you. Here's the thing: Bitcoin has surpassed by a long shot not just every currency, fiat currency around the world, but it has surpassed commodities like gold and silver. Now, I understand that we might have a community here that might be gold bugs, and they might say, "Hey, what is this guy talking about? Why? What do you mean that this Bitcoin thing that we don't like because it is essentially invisible to them, it's performing better than this commodity?" Well, it's very simple. Look at the numbers. From the time of decision of Bitcoin, Bitcoin today is worth over $50,000, $60,000. What's what's 1 ounce of gold worth still today? It only went up about maybe 50% in its purchasing power and the value of it. So you have something that went from $2,000 to $3,000, which is a commodity like gold, but then you have something like Bitcoin that started at pennies in the dollar and is today worth 60 something thousand dollars for per coin. Now, when you see that data, then you really become shocked as to who have I been listening to, because how did I miss out on 1,000x gains because I remain with this 10% gain that I got from an ancient commodity that, yeah, we all use and we have all adopted worldwide. But we have to understand that this phrase might be the phrase that will redefine this topic. But there is a new sheriff in town, and this is what is going to push forward innovation. This is what's going to push forward all of the emerging technologies that have already been implemented, that individuals in third world countries, many individuals in first world countries are still completely oblivious of. Let's just put it into this one quick thing, that this is one little line that I use a lot. There are around 60 million millionaires around the world, but there's only 21 million Bitcoin ever going to be created. Now, if you break this down as to how much Bitcoin, if you split it evenly, it would be 259,000 sats. Now, and this is not, I didn't say Bitcoin, I said sats. Now, what is a sat? A sat is a miniature part of a Bitcoin. It's a decimal number of the Bitcoin. Now, we understand that there's around 13 decimals inside of Bitcoin in the pricing value of it. So when I'm talking about sats, I'm talking about everything that goes after the dot. So I'm talking about very small amount of Bitcoin, because when we're looking at all the way back, and I'm talking about 259,000 sats, this does not even get close to zero point zero 0.01. This is way in the back. So this is something that when you start to run a Bitcoin node, because you can run literally a Bitcoin node using a computer that has enough storage and enough power, you'll
Mhm.
be able to not just start to become part of the ecosystem, but now you are acting as a miniature bank that transactions are being processed through, and you are now capturing the residual of the transaction fee. This is something that only the banking system has access to. This is one way that the banking system makes money. But the reason why this is so big is because individuals, common individuals, can now be able to operate as a bank with a little bit of electricity and a little bit of computing power. You don't have to make a huge investment to be able to run a Bitcoin node. However, it is something that it is now being adopted at the mainstream. But as we are speaking here right now, I can tell you that we are still way ahead of the adoption curve. Now, we have to really talk about that, because the adoption curve, it is something that is imminent. Now,
All right.
when is this going to take place?
Mm.
I'll let you guys know.
All right, we're going to get into the adoption curve shortly. There are also so much more for us to get into. We want to talk eventually about tokenism and how it influenced the platform itself. But I want to say great share. And a lot of what you're saying, I know it has to be broken down because I think the global audience still are at that stage where they are still perhaps, creeping now, beginning to make their first step into the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin space. I know a lot has been done over recent times. Two major moves that I always talk about is the fact that it's now under the spectrum of the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, which means that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is now managed by or overseen, have oversight by the SEC. And that means a lot because it means that just like how the financial sector has to perform up to a certain standard, the crypto and Bitcoin currency market also have to comply with the SEC standard. The second important thing that I would like talking about the new change that is taking place in this sector is the fact now that you have the ETF and Kevin O'Neill, he has been he is an expert in the ETFs field. He has been investing here for many years. He is also instrumental in the sector itself. He took some hit with Bankman Fried,
Yes,
but
was 10 million.
fortunate for him, what it looks like is the remittance that he would have obtained for advertising rights and so forth is what he would have flipped back into that investment portfolio. So there's a lot for us to unpack in relation to what you would have said. But I'm going to come right back to you shortly. I want us to go a little bit into some of the things I said that we would have looked at. If you want to position yourself to build wealth, it shouldn't be if. When you're ready to position yourself to build wealth, there are some essential habits, money habits that you need to really learn, apply, and master. You really want to take the time to ensure that you understand capital markets. One of the reasons that you're going to struggle financially is because you do not understand capital markets. All right. And capital markets begins with you understanding how debt portfolio operate. Capital market begins with you understanding how equity portfolios operate. It begins with you understanding how credit portfolios operate. And I'm going to give you a walk through credit financing so you have some understanding as to what I'm saying. You see, the more you understand about financial instrument, the more you create options for yourself to leverage these instruments to your advantage. Now, you may say, depending on where you are in the world, you don't have access to equity or you don't have access to the type of credit financing that you need to really leapfrog the vision. But what about creative financing? What about group economics? Yes, it may require for you to have a high negotiation skills. It may require for you to have clarity in terms of the project that you're going after. But once you learn the skills on how to leverage these instruments to your advantage, you stand a much better chance to be successful. So building the right habits around money is so important. It's so important. So it begins with you understanding financial instruments. Then next, it doesn't make sense to understand the instruments and not know how to access it. There are many persons, they're walking encyclopedia in terms of, capital market. But when it comes to accessing the capital, is a different ballgame altogether. Now, each one of the instruments, they have different pre-qualification criteria to access, and you need to know it. Because the more you know about it, that's what's going to set you up to access. But I want to move to the third tier. Your ability to access capital doesn't mean that you are ready to make a smart investment decision. It doesn't mean that you're ready to invest in cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that you're ready to start and scale a business. It doesn't mean that you're ready to invest in a Vanguard index or ETF. It doesn't mean that you know this. So you need to take the time to understand what we are calling capital leverage. And to leverage capital, I always talk with my team, you have to understand risk mitigation. You have to understand how to stress test your market. because when it comes to investment, it's not a gamble. You see, gamble is when you go to the casino and you just say, I'm placing a bet. You're placing a bet that's luck and chance because you cannot predict the outcome of the money that you have just placed on the table. Investment is different. Investment provides you the chance to predict the financial rewards that you're going to be getting down the road. So there are certain safe investment portfolios that you need to understand. So when we talk about leveraging, is leveraging knowingly that you have the data. All right. And the data tells you that if you make this type of investment, this is the dividend yield that you're going to get at a set time.
Right.
So you want to ensure that either you taking the time to understand smart ways to leverage capital, or you at least have your team behind you that understand the ecosystem of capital leverage. Now, you may understand all three that I've just spoken about. You understand financial instruments, you understand how to access, and you understand how to leverage. Kudos to you. Is that the beginning and the end?
Right.
The icing on the cake is that in our platform, we talk about capital mitigation,
Yes.
because here is where, you know, when you understand capital mitigation, you begin to recognize that not knowing this knowledge is walking away from that negotiation table, not leaving the crumbs on the table, but you're perhaps leaving more than half of, the pie on the table. And that pie is for your taking. All you need to have done is to take the time to understand how to mitigate financial instruments. Now, the ability to mitigate financial instrument means that you understand debt life cycle and you understand how to navigate it. Some may say manipulate it to your advantage. You understand capital cost. And because you understand capital cost, you know how to influence the APR. You know how to manage the annual percentage rate. You know how to manage the principal balance. So there's a whole lot of information that you need to learn when you want to position yourself to build wealth. And as I said, you don't have to be the subject matter in all of these areas. That's why you have, advisors and consultants and team players next to you that can really help you to navigate this ecosystem of money. And again, I want to bring you back to Pathway 5. Pathway 5, we're going to go deeper into all of this to ensure that you have the body of knowledge, you have the right frame of reference that you can use to your advantage to build wealth. Take the speculation out of the wealth building journey and bring yourself to that point where you now have the data, you have the information to make an informed and educated decision. And that's why at the Science of Success University, and now Pathway 5 carries a catalyst for some of the programs coming out of the Science of Success University. You will be learning the science of wealth creation, the theory of wealth creation, and the practice of wealth creation. Very often, you may only learn the theory. And sometimes when you apply the theory, you recognize that the way you learn it, things has changed because things are changing constantly. So the way you apply doesn't take into consideration the change in market realities. And because of that, you get culture shock. You panic and you run away instead of learning how to navigate it. So we're going to walk you through all of that to ensure that you have that body of knowledge. Now, the last point that I want to make here, as I promised, I want to spend just a little time helping you to understand how one of these financial instruments works and some of the things that you should know. And I want to come back to Dave Ramsey's point again. There are millions of people that are taking credit. American population today is approximately 300 and perhaps 30 plus million persons. But what we're seeing is that over 50% of the American population, they have between 1 to 3 credit cards. and you're taking the credit card and it's all about the emotion. It's not about your solid knowledge of how to use the credit card. You shouldn't have a credit card if you don't know how to use a credit card, because spending a credit card should never be an emotional decision. And this is why Dave Ramsey say, cut the cards up, because you don't know what you're doing. So let me help you to understand some of the things that you should know when it comes to credit card. Now, one of the things that you want to know about your credit card is to read your statement. Very often you get a statement and you can't read your statement. You see credit limit, you see credit line, you see credit, but you don't see necessarily the credit will remain in balance. So you cannot distinguish what is the credit limit and your credit line. All right, something you see remained in balance, and you think is the money that you have to spend, not necessarily so. So you want to spend as much time as possible to be able to understand the statement. The statement will should help you to understand what's your credit limit. That's how much money the financial institution has made available to you. You need to understand the credit utilization. That's how much money you have been spending. And you need to understand things like your credit line remain in balance. So once you know your credit limit and you know how much you're spending, and very often you lost track of how much you're spending because you're mixing and matching cards. You're mixing the cards up when you spend. So you lost track of where you spend from and how much you spend. And that makes it, the matter worse. You need to focus on what is the balance. The balance, when the statement comes, is the outstanding balance versus the remaining balance. You want to train the mind to be able to distinguish this. I know this because I interface with so many persons who are in credit card debt. They're stressed out and they don't know how to navigate it. So you need to understand all of these things if you're going to take credit and leverage credit. You're saying something, MR?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that many individuals, when it comes down to credit cards, they don't understand how to leverage the credit card for their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
You can leverage the credit card to your advantage. It's just a matter of being disciplined. And what I mean by this is that a when I met with a millionaire one time, and he showed me this about the credit card. He said, you get the credit card if you're starting. You get a credit card, and you use that credit card to cover your living expenses, your lifestyle, and you have to make sure that you have a bank account set aside with this amount of funds that you're going to be using for your lifestyle. And so this credit card is going to cover your lifestyle. And what's happening is that you have to be in the back of your mind, be reminded and conscious of what that budget is that you have created for the lifestyle. And so once you use the credit card to cover your lifestyle expenses, you already have the funds in that account separated to cover that credit card right away. And the things that I have seen and that I experienced myself because I didn't know how to use a credit card properly was that you would use your credit card out of an emotion or a or you would use it out on an article that is not a necessity, and because you didn't plan for that to happen, then you start to break away from the discipline that is your budget, and you start to build up debt, that it's unwanted debt, because now you don't have to only worry about the debt that you created. Now you have to worry about the interest that you have to pay on that debt, which it when you start to really do those numbers, becomes absorbent a lot more than it would be the initial amount, only if
Mm-hmm.
you've been disciplined. I just wanted to add that.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a very smart person that you were talking to there. and there are many hacks and many smart ways to use a credit card. And, you know, um, I'll give some shortly as we wrap up on my part here, and then I'll come back to you. But wise guys, the next thing that you need to understand about credit card is something that we call the billing cycle. Many persons, you have a credit card, but you have never heard about the billing cycle. If you heard about it, you just don't understand the significance of your billing cycle. The billing cycle help you to understand two things. One is what we call the open date. What is the open date? It tells you when to start spending. The billing cycle also tells you the close date. What is the close date? It tells you when to stop spending and when to replenish the credit line down to perhaps 29%, because your credit utilization should not go above 30%. But many of you don't know this and you're just using the card. All right. Now, it's not that your credit limit should not go above 30%. If you know what to do, you can max it out. But when you understand the billing cycle, you know that you have to bring it down at a certain time, because when Equifax, Experience, or TransUnion take that sneak peek into the account, you want them to see, hey, you're below 30%, because if you're above 30%, it's going to generate a report. But you don't know this. You don't know how to navigate it. So you're going to get yourself in trouble. Again, it's the other reason why Dave Ramsey is going to say stay away from credit. But if you know all of this and how to navigate it, why not leverage it to your advantage? They call it OPM, leverage other people's money. But you have to be intelligent, a user of this financial instruments to be able to maximize on this. If not, you're going to throw the noose around your neck. You have also due date. How important is a due date? At the due date, you learn how to bring the balance down to zero to avoid what we call balance carried over. Now, if you understand this, you are able to completely avoid APR. APR is annual percentage rate. Can you imagine that you're using a card, and regardless of how high the interest rate is, because you know what you're doing, you're able to, let me say the harsh word, manipulate it or manage it effectively and to your advantage. But you don't know it. So you're going to get yourself in trouble. But when you know it, you know exactly what to do. All right. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is the minimum balance due. And in most cases, the minimum balance due tells you the least amount that you can pay to avoid derogatory marks being placed on your FICO score. And this is something that you need to know, because in many cases you may not be able to, you know, manage the due date the way you want to, and that's to bring the balance down to zero. But the next option that you have here is to be able to optimize the minimum balance due, and that's to pay in the least amount to avoid late fees, to avoid non-payment, and to avoid derogatory marks being placed on your FICO score. So there's so much that you need to understand about the financial market, and the more you understand it is the more you set yourself up for success financially. All right. So I want to turn over to Elmore, but just before I do so, I want to emphasize two things. I love what Dave Ramsey is doing, but I'm saying that he's right when you don't know what to do, but he's completely wrong when you know how to navigate the market. Some of the wealthiest people in the world, they take debt, but they know how to manage debt. So I cannot stand here and say stay away from that. My role is to ensure that I can provide you with the information and the education to help you to become knowledgeable about financial instruments, so you're now able to leverage this to your advantage. That's our role. And you now have to make a smart choice. All right. So Pathway 5, again, is a very unique program. Pathway 5 is really going to help you to understand the science of success, the theory of success and wealth creation, and the practice of. So you're not learning just the theory and you're on your own, because we know that the theory is totally inadequate to set you up for success. Whether you're in business or in life, the theory is inadequate. So if any institution is teaching you simply based on the theory, it is something for you to think about. Now, we talk this way because you will hear me often say, make academic make sense. And we believe that the way in which academic traditionally is rolled out based on a theory, it is not making sense to a whole lot of people. It's not enough to have the academic acolyte, but then the benefits of that academic, knowing that you can live a financially independent life, you can provide for your family and your loved ones, across the whichever area you study, you want to know that that is possible. It's not. All right. It's not because of a number of reasons. But don't let me go down the academic path now. We hold ourselves accountable to ensure that we don't repeat those negatives, but we help you to understand the science, what the data is saying. We help you to understand our theory that is working, that is proven, and to understand how to apply yourself with this body of knowledge. And more, all to you.
Yes, I think what would you like to add to the credit card, and I think this is huge. This is huge. Is that
Mhm.
your credit card should never be treated as a savings account for emergencies. That is one of the biggest mistakes that leads to credit card debt, is to use it as a savings account, and number two, to use it to subsidize your lifestyle. If you do these two things, you are setting yourself up for failure. Now, to finish off the the the, the rest, when you are now jumping and start to learn about the cryptocurrency space, you also have to learn that they have already created credit systems within this space for you to be able to take advantage of. So, and what I mean is that instead of you having, let's just say that you have 3 Bitcoin, and let's just say that you would like to use 2 Bitcoin, but you do not want to sell your Bitcoin because you do not want to lose your position. You do not want to create a taxable event. And so now what's available for that is that you can borrow against. So there has been products that have been created by several institutions that would allow you to borrow against your cryptocurrency, so it does not create a taxable event. And as we understand, this is the way that you leverage credit, and it's one of the ways to leverage credit, because this would allow you to remain in possession and of your position in your cryptocurrency, which is now considered a commodity. I'm going to get into that in just a second. But it is imminent to understand that this is another vehicle that has become available, that was used in the traditional finances system, that has essentially been adopted into the blockchain and cryptocurrency ecosystem. And this is a great thing that has happened, because like I just mentioned, if you're not trying to create a taxable event, you definitely want to be able to get some credit on the assets that you already have. And so I want to make a very very big distinction here now, and this is because I've heard you, Gary, say the SEC a couple of times. But as this month of May, the Ripple Labs XRP case against the SEC is coming to an end, and as it's coming to an end, it's a state of relief for the individuals who have been paying attention to that case, but it's become also a sign of relief For the individuals that were in fear, and because they were in fear, they were staying away from the space, and some of them even gave up their positions in the space because they were in fear. And this is what in the cryptocurrency space is known as FUD, the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now, understanding that this is coming to an end, we have to go back to about 6 months ago, because 6 months ago was essentially when the XRP and the SEC case essentially came to the end, and the opinion that judge the judge gave, it makes a humongous difference into how we're going to be able to view this now, because there is only now two cryptocurrencies that are now under the CFTC. And this means that XRP and Bitcoin, which was the two only cryptocurrencies that were mentioned on that, um, have now been looked at and put in the rearview mirror under a commodity and not as a security. Now, I want to explain this because I know many people, this might have just gone over the head. So let me just break this down quick. A security, it is a essentially like a bond. In the traditional market space, a security is essentially like a bond, and so securities must be registered. The SEC oversees all securities, and the reason why the SEC has essentially been so impunitive on the crypto space is because they are saying that all of these cryptocurrencies that were created are just securities, and there are unregistered securities. But now we have clarity at the end of this case, as it's coming to an end, that there's are two of these cryptocurrencies. The one is XRP, and the other one it's Bitcoin, that are now going to be classified and are going to go under the jurisdiction under the CFTC, which means that this has now been classified as a commodity. This changes the whole entire game, because this means that every other cryptocurrency might have some sort of damage happen to them in the near future, because they SEC might go against them because they are unregistered securities. We don't know that yet, but that is a possibility. But having clarification now on these two digital assets that are not known now as securities, but they have been defined as commodities, this means that now we open the floodgates to be able to transact freely. And we are able to transact just like we use fiat currency without having the worry of that taxable event. So this is humongous. This is huge. This is something that everyone needs to understand, because now you have a, how can I say, put this in the proper perspective? Now you have essentially gone through the rabbit hole, and you found this piece of information that is going to change who you were before you went in, because it's now going to give you this whole new perspective and knowledge on how to operate in this new ecosystem, because of the clarification that was
Yeah.
provided by the SEC.
Elmore, let me just chime in a little bit on the SEC, just to help the public to understand a little bit more about the SEC, and then I'm going to come back to you. Now, you may be asking yourself, what is the SEC? It is the Security Exchange Commission. How long has the SEC been in operation? They have been in operation since 1934. That's over 100 years. You might be asking yourself, what are the specific functions of the SEC? Well, they have four main functions. One, they have what is known as the Division of Corporate Finance. At the right time, we'll talk about corporate finance. They have a division that looks at trade and markets. You need to understand trade and market. At the right time, we will go into that. And they also have what is known as the Division of Investment Management. So they have their watchdog that are set up to oversee these three essential financial markets. Last, they have what is known as a division of enforcement. So all the laws and regulatory system that governs how these three sectors should be operating, they have an enforcement body that governs. So if you slip up and slip out, and they see any jittery pokery or anything that is looking shady, the SEC has the right to enforce the full force of the law done on you. So I just want to say that. So now that the cryptocurrency is under the SEC, it gives investors some more protection. Having said that, it doesn't mean that you should excuse yourself. If you don't have the knowledge, work with an expert that can help you to understand not just cryptocurrency, but all financial instruments that you're going to be invested in. Elmore, take it away from there.
Yes, no, thank you. That is very important to understand, because that last piece is what's being enforced on the crypto space, which is the regulations and aspect. That this is what the Gary Gensler is been pushing, is for the space to be able to follow the regulation, and this is why it's so important that this case has been able to provide that clarification, and this makes the whole entire ecosystem become more bona fide for the individuals that have uncertainties, and for the individuals that are already in this space, this just become as another milestone that we're getting over, just as adoption is coming by. Now, I'm pretty sure that all the value that I have provided have allowed you to know that you might want to have a further conversation with me. I'm able to do that. I have a consultancy that I'm able to consult with anyone from around the world, and provide the information and provide the safeguards that are necessary to be able to not just understand the space, but to be able to endeavor in this space in a secure manner. So also, when if you get a hold of my book now that is about to launch, Crypto 101, Understanding the Future of Money, you're not just going to be able to get a glimpse at to what the current fiat systems are, but you'll be able to get a glimpse into what the future of the fiat systems are going to be, and what that translate over to also what the future of cryptocurrency is going to look like. And this is just to be able to provide clarity for individuals, because that is something that I noticed very early on, was the lack of understanding and knowledge of the space that everyone has already been operating on, and having even less of an understanding of this whole new arena that it's called the cryptocurrency space. With that, I thank you, Gary, for allowing me to be here today. I thank everyone that is able to gain knowledge from this. And I hope that you guys are able to take those little gold nuggets that we have provided here today, and are able to not just absorb them, but implement them, which is the most important part. With that, I've been done. Thank you very much, Gary.
All right, and Elmore, I want to thank you for your share. Frank had to run out because he's doing some interviews at the moment to increase some staff. But Elmore, always great having you here and to help the audience, also to learn more about what is happening in the cryptocurrency space. There's a lot to unpack here, and we're happy to have you to continue to help in the unpacking of that type of information, as relates to that platform. And to the public, today we have over 40,000 persons from across the world who have subscribed to the platform. I want to say thank you, and I want to encourage you to continue to like and share. And for those who have not yet subscribed, because we see over 70% of those persons who are viewing the program, you have not yet subscribed for one reason or the other. Perhaps you just forget to press that subscription button. But I want to encourage you to press the subscription button. It's free, and you will be helping us and helping the algorithm to recognize what we're doing and push the work out so we're able to reach more persons. Thanks to the depths of my heart in advance for that support. Today, we are reaching over 50 countries, and that's something that we are very much happy about. In conclusion, I want to say this. I trust that the information that you got today, I know today was a little bit, a little heavy, but I do believe that, in life is not only about the light lifting. Sometimes you have to do the heavy lifting when you want to push through and make your breakthrough in business and in life. Today was just some of the heavy lifting. The beauty about working with us is that you don't have to do all of the heavy lifting because you have so many experts in our community that is committed to that process of working with you and breaking these tough concepts down and into bite-sized pieces and being there on your side as your mentor and your coach, as your sponsor, as part of your supportive community to push you forward. All right, so feel free to definitely reach out to us, connect with us. We will be so happy to give you all the support that we can give you. And I want to say this again. Regardless of where you are in the United States of America, we can get you access to capital. All right. We can get you access to business financing uh, and so much more. All right. You can be in Washington, D.C., you can be in Florida, you can be in, whichever part of America. Once you're in business and you need access to capital, I want to encourage you to reach out to me right now. And I'll be happy to connect you with our partners and ensure that you get the much needed capital to grow and scale your business. And we will talk more about this as time progresses because we love talking about helping you to access capital at 0% APR. And here is where you can access, 150,000 US dollars, 250,000 US dollars. And guess what? You have 0% APR to pay for 6 to 24 months. That should be music to your ears to know that you can access capital and you don't have to stress yourself out with paying the interest, the annual percentage rate. All right. So these are the kind of opportunities that we are working hard behind the scene to help you to rise and star in business. All you need to do is to connect with us, and we will do everything that we can do within our powers to help you to achieve your financial goals. So, Elmore, thanks again. Any last words you want to share before we pull the curtain down?
I just wanted to reiterate, if anyone likes to get in touch with us and wants to get in touch with me, my tag for social media is at CEOEIL, and we could get into a deeper conversation there and help you guys. And there's so much information on my social media pages that you probably can get a grasp on as to how to adopt this space and how to engage in a secure manner that is just available for everyone. And I want to, again, once more, thank you, Gary, for allowing me to be part of this platform and to be able to provide value here for everyone that is connected, all the subscribers and the non-subscribers that are able to take a piece of value from what we're doing.
All right. Thanks for that, share, Elmore. And to the audience, it's Wednesday. Make sure treat yourself like a priority. All right. Invest in you. The last word that I want to say on money. Remember, some clever things to learn about money is that you need to work hard and work smart. I don't care if you're working hard or working smart. You need to do that. Why? Because you want to earn. Why do you want to earn? Because you want to save. Why do you want to save? Because you want to invest. Why do you want to invest? Because you want to build wealth. So let me quickly say this again. You work to earn, you earn to save, you save to invest, you invest to build wealth. You want to say this every day in your life. So you're training the mind to really understand money and how money works. It's not just about you working for money. How can you put money to work for you is where the real secret lies of wealth creation. So with that being said, you go and have a great day. See you guys tomorrow and more. We do this again soon.
Awesome. Thank you.